So, like the title indicated, today I'm going to teach you how to blow up on social media platforms, namely Bilibili, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, 小红书, you name it. I got you covered. This is a follow-up video of why you need to start taking social media seriously in 2021. Like the first video, this one is also going to be a little lengthy and chunky and just full of information because, you know, that's how I roll these days. It is a magnum opus of some sort. I'd rather have something completely ready, completely categorized and systemized so that anyone who's clueless about starting a channel or completely intimidated about this can have a systematic, comprehensive guide to basically everything that I know. That said, I will keep on polishing just a few points here and there in my upcoming videos. But yeah, this video is going to cover all the basics. Yeah, so basically when I started gaining a little traction, I've sort of just been like developing this system, developing my body of knowledge in regards to content creation and more specifically how to blow up, how to gain traction and how to sustain that relevance, popularity. I kind of wish I had spoken about it a little sooner because this is something that I've sort of gotten better just by doing things. You know, I never had any help. I never went to any teacher. I put my theory to test and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And now I'm at a point where I feel like I have enough credentials and enough experience to speak on this. Yeah, I want to speak on this because I wish someone were there when I started to guide me along, not just in terms of the technical side of things, but you know, the mentality, mindsets to have and how to like overcome a sense of being rejected when no one is watching your videos, or you know, how to find time and allocate time to make content. These are all very subtle, kind of behind the scenes kind of stuff. I want to be that person, and I believe that I have the qualifications to speak on this. And if this video turns out to do pretty well, I'll keep making more content and maybe even a course on this. Anything can happen. So if you want to learn how to blow up or how to sustain that popularity, if you've gotten there, this video is for you. So stay tuned. Here's an overview of all the stuff that I'm going to talk about in this video. Part 1. First things first. Start with what, why, and how. Many people dive head in without giving any thought about what their channel is going to be like. And as a result, they will soon become discontent and desperate the minute that things don't go their way. This could easily be avoided if you decide to do some homework in advance. And in fact, just by planning better, you're already miles ahead of most everybody, even before you upload anything. I've divided the things to consider into 3 categories, namely what to make, why you're making it, and how to make it happen. So the first one, what to make part, is pretty easy and pretty self-explanatory. You just have to keep in mind what you're interested in, what do you watch in your free time, what would you like to see more of on any given platform, what are you good at. Just because you want to make a specific type of content, like I want to keep writing songs all the time, doesn't mean that you or I have the specific skill set or the time to hone in on the skill. You have to keep all these things in mind if you want to start a channel, and even more so if you want to blow up, because you have to stay consistent. If you're not good at something and you make one video about one thing and then another video about another thing, it's gonna happen. You're still gonna get some traction, but it's not gonna happen as quickly. If you become too pigeonholed, if you spend your whole career talking about one thing and never adjusting to the market, never adjusting to the trend, never adjusting according to your growth, that down the road is also going to be unhealthy and unproductive. And many of you watching this might be still undecided, just like I am, and that's completely fine. You just have to make a list of all the things that you want to experiment and prioritize certain things over others. You have to also make sure that you keep an open and honest communication with your audience. Sometimes they'll understand, sometimes people will unfollow you if you decided to stop making content on this specific subject. If you don't give them a chance to get to know the newer version of you, then most likely people will fall away. And that's not an indication that your new content is going to be unpopular. It's just You know, sometimes people sign up for one thing and then they don't want another thing, and that's okay, but you have to tell them about it. The bottom line is you can make anything you want and make a name for yourself as long as you keep your content consistent, interesting, engaging, and useful. And YouTube and Billy are becoming more and more diverse. You don't have to be pretty, you don't have to look a certain way, you don't have to have a certain accent, you don't even have to speak the same language that everyone else speaks. So literally sky is the limit. Although it is a good sign that the platform Bilibili started out with this abundance of makeup tutorials where people sharing their makeup, sharing their skincare, and people looking pretty. That is a good sign because guess what? That's how YouTube started. And now obviously we're inundated with more makeup tutorials, of course, but also other content like commentary, comedy, and just overall really useful and entertaining content. And we're gonna keep seeing more of that. It's only the beginning. The second part, why you want to start a channel, is also very important because guess what? Just wanting to be famous isn't enough. I mean, I get that it's nice to have a goal. It's nice to keep your eyes on a specific number in terms of how many views you have, in terms of how many followers you have. But in the beginning, you really can't afford to think about this. I want you to focus on what message you want to tell everybody, what stories you want to tell everybody. It could be strictly personal. It could be, you know, universal. For instance, many people have commented on how useful or how just eye-opening my videos are. But on the other hand, I also open up about my own stories and try to tell my stories in a way that will also help other people relate to me and learn something from me, or most specifically, my mistakes. You want to figure out what is not being said on the market, what is not being said on this platform. That will help you stand out more, and we're going to talk more about that. All I'm saying is, unless you have an intention, unless you have a why, unless you have a deeper motivation that's beyond just money, fame, and instant gratification, you're not gonna get very far. And even if you did go viral, it's really hard to sustain that. And the third part, how you're gonna make it, is more on the logistical side. So most of us either have a job or are currently still in school. We don't have that much time to allocate towards a hobby, and this is all the more important to think ahead and ask for all the help you need. I sort of got lucky. When I decided to make videos for real is also when I happened to have a lot of time and a lot of resources in terms of money. More specifically, money that goes towards my gear and all the courses I signed up for, all the books I bought. It wasn't a ton of money, but it was enough money to make me feel empowered. Most people are not lucky, or at least not always lucky like that. You really have to make plans ahead of time. You really have to ask yourself if this is the topmost priority to you, if this is worth the sacrifices. You're not gonna be spending as much time with your friends. Basically, you're gonna spend a large chunk of time just learning and, you know, keep running in circle, running in place and not getting anywhere. Are you prepared to make sacrifices? And if so, how are you gonna make those happen? You don't have to wait until everything comes together. You don't have to wait until you have 24 hours in a day to make anything. Like when I started, I would post something on my TikTok because it was so readily available. I hopped in my car and then right in that instant I'd come up with something in my head and I just started recording, and it takes me like less than 10 minutes. Although it's not ideal to always be on the go and be in a hurry, doesn't mean that it's entirely impossible to make any content. Try to think ahead so that this thing is not just some distant idea, some bucket list. It's an actual concrete thing that you can do. Don't worry about money yet. The elephant in the room is that you need money or something to sustain your channel, to sustain this amount of effort and time and just investment into making this channel happen. I'm not asking you to never think about money. All I'm asking you is to not think about it in the beginning. Not think about short-term instant gratification kind of money. Something I see people do all the time is before they've even built a brand or built an identity or something that people know them for, they've started taking just really cheap sponsorships, or they started selling completely irrelevant and unrelated products on their channel. I mean, it's the stupidest decision even in the most selfish sense, because your image, your branding should be infinitely more important and valuable than just the short-term result. So I'm not asking you to be Mother Teresa here, and I'm not asking you to be a selfless person. In fact, you could even be 51% altruistic and then 49% selfish. But that 1% altruism, or thinking in big picture, or thinking ahead and not focusing on the now, whatever you want to call it, just that 1% more effort without wanting anything in return is going to yield more results in the long run. Just take my word for it. That being said, make no mistake, this thing has money in it. It has great potential in it, even far beyond what I can imagine and what I've experienced, because every day I see people blowing up out of nowhere. Every day I see internet personalities going into mainstream and making it happen for themselves. So I'm not asking you to completely let go of the idea of making money. All I'm saying is to not fixate your attention on making it right now. Focus on what you can deliver and what you can build your value on. Make sense? Part 2, planning your channel and content. I like to divide this step into 2 phases. The first one, research phase, and then the second one is self-discovery phase. So the research phase entails that you look out for what content is out there, what content is popular, what YouTubers or creators you like, what kinds of content you like to emulate, but also what kinds of content you want to see more of, but perhaps nobody is doing. If you're feeling particularly inspired by a certain creator and their aesthetic, you can also keep a file or a folder of these people's aesthetics or talking styles, or just pay attention to the way they make their videos and take a note. Take out a piece of paper, or you can screenshot their thumbnails or have a place on your computer where you organize all these channels' information. I use Notion to just categorize every YouTuber's style based on the aesthetic, based on the topic that they choose to talk about, based on the way they communicate themselves. So I always have like an inspo board or a vision board of some sort to aspire to. Not that I'm saying you should copy and paste everyone's formula, but to be your own self, to let yourself shine through, you gotta give yourself some kind of structure, some kind of like ready-made formula to go off on. If you're improvising strictly from scratch, then yeah, you can get overwhelmed. And then we're moving on to the self-discovery phase. So this one should be pretty easy. Just take out a piece of paper, write down what people say about you, what people say you're good at, write down what you typically watch, what you like to spend time on, and what you like to see more of. So taking the time to research or discover yourself will help you reignite old ideas and come up with new ideas that were already kind of percolating in your subconscious. You can go as big as you want. Like when I started, I actually had a lot of ideas and I needed some professional help. Like I actually went to a book writing workshop because, technically my ideas can be categorized and organized into a book. So I had no shortage of ideas. And if you are feeling what I was feeling when I started, then you could go as big as you want. Write down like a dozen video titles, or write down a dozen topics that you want to potentially make a video about, and see how you can organize them, see how you can elaborate on them, or see how you can make something into a really concise, really short soundbite that you can post immediately. Like sometimes we overthink a problem, we overthink a topic when really you could have just spent like 30 seconds on it and people will get it. All I'm doing right now is to get you feeling comfortable with like putting ideas out there in the world, even if it's just on your draft paper. How to come up with video ideas. So what if you're not a creative person? Or at least you believe you're not, because truly I think everyone is creative. But let's just say you've never thought about, what videos to make. What can you come up with? How do you come up with fresh and intriguing ideas? Well, I got you covered. Step 1, always keep an eye out for the newest content, for the trend. Not so that you can always jump on the bandwagon, but you have an idea what everybody is talking about. And sometimes the right answer is the easiest answer, the easiest idea to execute on. But because we think too much of ourselves, we're overthink the process, we don't think we could do that. I would like to use modern art as kind of a bad or good example here. Oftentimes we criticize people who do modern art. We'll say, oh, this is like too simple, I could do that. But the thing is, you could, but you didn't. And so I like to invite you to think of the easiest video ideas that anyone could do, but maybe you're not doing, or maybe you don't see anyone else doing it. This idea in Big Magic, which is the Bible on creativity, talks about how, certain ideas, they're nothing original. They're even insultingly low intelligence. But the thing is, they just lie around, and anyone that picked them up, anyone that spent any time on them can turn them into something great. And you could be that person. So keeping an eye out on the content market in general and paying attention to what everybody else is doing, paying attention to what's missing is honestly the easiest way to kickstart your creativity. And once you get that creativity started, you can live that lifestyle. You can embody that new identity, which is that of a creative person or a content creator. And the way to do that is to always keep a notebook on you, always write down your ideas, even if you don't think they're gonna go anywhere. I definitely do that. I either carry my phone with me or have a physical notebook that I can always jot down random snippets of ideas. Sometimes they're not even for a particular video, but I still found them interesting enough. They came to me out of nowhere, so I had to write them down even if I don't decide on utilizing them. And another way to live that creative lifestyle is to take the time to organize your ideas. This is kind of a step above and beyond just like writing down your ideas, because once your creativity gets kick-started, you'll find out that you actually have a lot more ideas than you're ready to execute on. So all this abundance of ideas need somewhere to go until they get worked on. The easiest way for me to organize it is to have physical papers organized in a binder, or if you don't want to waste paper, you can put everything online. I actually do both. Like I have offline, completely isolated physical things that I can touch, and then I also have like a digital archive of all my video ideas, all my silly ideas that I can edit on. How to plan a video. First, refer to your database, refer to your inspo board, refer to your own notes, and have a title, have a subject, have an event or any talking points in mind, and then decide on what kind of video this is. Is it a vlog? Is it a talking head video? Is it a tutorial? Is it a commentary? Is it something you do with your friends? How many people are in this video? What camera do you want to use? What kind of style do you want to convey in? Is it a funny video? Is it a deep thought-provoking kind of video? What's the undertone and what's the aesthetic like? Take out a piece of paper and put down as much information as you can think of, and then once you decide on the content or the center point of the video, you can list out bullet points, or if it's a vlog, you can list out the storyline. Sometimes you have to think ahead. Like when you are about to film a vlog, you have to think ahead, okay, what kinds of shots I need to hit, like what are the basic shots I need to hit. People often get overwhelmed or carried away when you're living that moment. So you can either plan out your story ahead of time or look at your footage and come up with a narrative after you've done like the filming part of it. And if you're just filming a talking head video like I am right here, you could write out your points. And if you're completely ready, you can write a teleprompter ready script. Having a teleprompter actually might help you more. Just having more props in general will help you more. And then when you turn pro, when you become more and more advanced, you feel more comfortable speaking off the cuff. Things to make your video more interesting and engaging. Like I said before, oftentimes people neglect or overlook the importance of good audio and good lighting. So if you want to make your footage watchable, be sure to do something about that. Point number 2, if you're making an extensive talking head kind of video, be sure to do multiple takes. Be sure to have like multiple angles or multiple cameras. Like I don't do multiple cameras, but I do do have zoom in, zoom out effect on my footage so that, you know, when I want people to pay attention to this sentence, I can grab their attention. And in terms of content, what you can do is to, you know, have a script ready. That's the pre-planning part. In the post-production part, edit a roll first. That's like the talking head. And then see what additional footage you can add. See what additional information you can add to make your footage more engaging. Something that I like to do is to have a script ready next to my computer when I'm editing and mark out the points that I can add a B-roll to. So B-roll is like an additional visual to the footage. It could be a picture, it could be a stock footage, it could be something that you film again. If I'm talking about, oh, writing things down, I would put a footage of me writing things down over my talking head. So that kind of thing will gather and maintain people's attention when your footage is kind of monotone or the footage is kind of long or when the subject in and of itself is not entertaining, but you can make it entertaining. Just a general tip on great storytelling. Even if you're not making a video, even if you're just making a note, making a picture, writing an article, the content you make should have a structure. The content you make should have, if you're telling a story, a great storyline, a timeline. It should be pretty easy and simple to follow along. Don't be precocious, don't be pretentious, just speak from your heart. And if you have trouble doing that, if people have commented on your videos saying, oh, this is kind of all over the place, then watch some of the YouTubers that you like to watch and take note. You know, great stories should have some kind of cadence, some kind of rhythm to it, and it should be an enjoyable experience, even if you're talking about a boring thing like I might be right here. So if you've gathered every material on hand and you're about to film and yet you still feel kind of intimidated, I got you covered. What you can do also is to rehearse or talk into a camera while reading your script. All you need to do is to not ask yourself to be perfect on the first try. So rehearse, intentionally make bad shit so you get used to making shit, and if it's bad, you just do a double take or move on and do another thing. And then another tip to make your content more interesting and have more views is kind of a cheat tip, which is to pick a different platform or just like take some time to experiment with different platforms and different formats. So I will give you an example, a personal example. So when I started making videos, I was posting like 5-minute, 10-minute videos on YouTube. I would take a bunch of time writing out scripts and shoot the video on my DSLR camera. Just a lot of work, a lot of hours, and all that content would get 10, 20 views at the most. And later on, I had realized that no, these tips are more suited for like a short video platform, namely TikTok or Douyin. I decided to cut the long videos into different segments and repost them on these new platforms that I found. And the same video that got like 20, 30 views on this platform actually went viral on this other platform over here. So just because your content isn't working on one platform, don't completely shoot it down. Play around with different platforms. Sometimes you might even consider changing it to an article or to a podcast. It's all about like thinking outside of the box, but work with whatever you have. Work with your ideas. Don't immediately dispel them. Don't immediately shoot them down. Don't immediately decide that you're shitty at what you do. Sometimes it could just be that you picked the wrong platform. Got it? How to make your channel stand out. Number 1, don't be afraid to disagree. Now, obviously, don't disagree just for the sake of disagreeing. It should come from an honest, authentic, and genuine place. Most things are pretty innocuous, so don't be afraid to speak your truth. Don't be afraid to be a contrarian. Don't be afraid to have a difference in opinion, which I definitely did. And ironically, what makes me different was what made me scared in the beginning about starting a channel, but ultimately in the end is what sets me apart. If you have something different about you and you're not like rubbing it in everyone's face, you're not hurting other people's ego and other people's feelings, then I say do it. Really hone in on what's unique about you. Actually sit down and like write a list of traits or a list of things that you're good at and the list of things that you can talk about and see like what's popular over here on the market and see what these two things dissect and overlap and just focus on what these two things have in common. I don't know if like what I'm doing with my hands makes sense. Get busy going back to the drawing board. Or I guess going to it for the first time. Part 3, tools and skill sets. To start with, I am going to defer to other channels and experts that have done an extensive introduction or research on all the gear that you can think of when it comes to making videos. What I'm going to do is include the list of people that I watch and also give you my setup just so you have an idea of what camera I use, what cameras I have used. But what I will say and what I think I have expertise on is this. Gear doesn't matter as much as content and the availability of that content. What happens all the time is that when they get the camera, they don't study, they don't spend as much time studying how to work that camera, they don't spend as much time researching the kinds of content they want to make, they don't spend as much time fleshing out the idea. Even if they have the most advanced camera, the person behind the camera doesn't have all these essential elements, therefore making their content still pretty much amateur and unwatchable. And on the other hand, you'll have somebody just using their iPhone, just using whatever they have on hand, and because they're so creative, they know the ins and outs of the camera or the smartphone, they can get pretty good footage and pretty good results out of the gear that they have. So that's point number 1. And point number 2 is a lot of times people only focus on the camera, completely forgetting about the sound. As much as you're enjoying this footage right now, if I have a crappy mic setup, like I did a couple videos ago, the footage is gonna be unenjoyable or unwatchable because it's just unpleasant to the ear. So don't neglect audio, don't neglect lighting as well. Most people can just get away with natural lighting. Like right now I'm facing a natural window light. Or if you're shooting at night, if you're filming a video at night, you might want to consider buying an external light source. So you don't have to spend a ton of money, but nobody wants to watch a really dark footage, as I have found out. So that's all I'm gonna say on gear, and I'm going to show you my setup as well. So this is my formal desk / tripod setup. I've got all this camera setup mounted to a standing desk. So if I want to stand, I can just press this button and everything moves with it. Obviously, we got my camera mounted on this swivel arm, so I can just adjust the arm if I want to. And then I've got a lighting situation. Hold on, let me get my remote. I can turn it on and adjust the temperature. This is warm and this is cold. Or the brightness. Yeah, as you can see, it doesn't get very bright in here, especially during the winter time. So I can even look at myself in this tiny monitor or this big one over here, which also, if I ever wanted to shoot on 4K, I can just record the footage into the monitor non-stop, because like this camera usually has like 30-minute limit. So sometimes I would keep on talking without realizing that the footage has ended. So to avoid doing that, I just record into the monitor sometimes. But lately I've been getting okay results on this tiny monitor. Or sometimes I can hook up the camera to my computer and just look at myself on this big screen. And then over here, this mount can do multiple things. I can mount like a camera mic or an external light source. Very versatile. And obviously this computer can edit. I can do podcasts down the line. Just have like an audio setup hook up to my computer. I typically record like very formal talking head videos in here, and I've set up my office like a camera or video studio with the black wall, and when I turn that light on, it's blue. I mean, I haven't tested that one out yet, but it should look pretty good. That's my formal setup. And this is my desk. As you can see, I've got plenty of window light, except for today because it's kind of gloomy. But usually during the day, when I feel like recording something off the cuff, I'll just set up my vlog camera, this tiny camera, on like a small tripod and just start talking. The videos I do here in my room are a lot more casual, a lot more off the cuff, and definitely not as well thought out, which sometimes is the ideal. But yeah, those are my basic setups, and this is like my preferred go-to setup, by the way, just sitting in front of my window light. It's always there, it's always ready to go, and it's not so formal. Yeah, I can just speak my mind. Obviously, you don't have to be so extravagant and completely over-engineered like I was right here, but this is the setup that I'm comfortable with, and because I've done it for so long, I need something that I can get my hands on. I need something that is constantly ready to go. So keep in mind, if you're a beginner, definitely don't take my setup into consideration. And I think it's even more challenging, it's even more fun when you have some sort of limitations, and I think it will make you more productive counterintuitively. So once you get your hands on the right camera, the right audio setup, the right lighting, the right phone to record you even, now we're facing the real hard question, which is how do you record yourself? How do you talk normally into a lens? How do you feel comfortable in front of a camera? Which, to be honest, I still struggle with. Every time I turn on that camera and hit record, I still get that sense of anxiety washing over me. But I've been doing this for a long enough time that I've sort of developed a system. Tip number 1 is to do something in the meantime. You can talk as you put your makeup on, or talk as you drink coffee. You don't even have to look directly into the camera, especially in the beginning. It's understandably intimidating because, especially if you're facing a DSLR camera, or even a point and shoot camera, you're looking into a black dot. You're looking into the lens. You're not exactly looking into a screen. And humans are like that. We are not used to talking to machines. We're not used to talking into oblivion, which is what I'm looking at right now. We're more used to talking to a face. With that in mind, you can practice recording on your phone first, even if you don't exactly like the quality of the footage. It's just practice, it's all I'm talking about. So when you're recording into a phone, you can see yourself, you can see what exactly is going on. And even when you're seeing yourself, it feels like you're talking to a real person, therefore making the whole experience a little bit less robotic, a little bit less mechanical, and it feels like you're just having a conversation. So practice doing that. Don't even have a topic ready to talk about. Just practice looking into a camera and speaking nonsense. You practice shooting the camera facing other people and talking into the camera when you're comfortably behind the screen. Another thing that you can do is to record your voice. So don't show yourself in front of a camera. Just listen to yourself talk and just practice speaking or interacting with the machine, interacting with the gadget, interacting with something that will record you. It's not something that most people are comfortable with. I mean, most people are comfortable with having their pictures taken or taking a selfie of themselves, or from time to time recording their own voice. But to have something that they want to talk about consistently, to have something coherent and also looking natural in front of a camera doesn't come naturally. And even for the most professional newscaster, broadcasters, they train themselves to look into a camera and stay on the camera. And they have to train themselves to read a teleprompter properly, which is my last point. If you're talking about something really advanced and it's really hard to commit to memory, you could potentially get a teleprompter. But using a teleprompter also invites more problems, because sometimes if you lack the training, you can look very unnatural, just like I have looked unnatural in my past videos. I've done a decent enough job, but it still feels like something is missing, and I'm missing that kind of spark. Yeah, it's better to commit your script to memory, or even read off of your computer to the side. You don't have to always keep your eyes on the lens. That's not a necessity. If the video topic is a little bit advanced and just extensive, you can also rehearse your videos. That way you won't feel intimidated to get the perfect take on the first try. You know, when professional actors get on a movie set, they spend anywhere between 10 minutes to even hours just to get the perfect take. And this is something that I learned from a famous YouTuber called Best Dressed. She would spend forever just trying to get that perfect take on that one line, just to deliver a joke in its proper way. And sometimes even if she get that first take right, she would still do multiple takes just in case that first one wasn't good enough. I used to think that was a bit excessive and time consuming, but now I find it almost comforting because I started getting more comfortable in front of the camera. I don't feel as intimidated about it because I could just edit out all the mistakes. All the time spent on trying to get the perfect take on the first try is spent on recording. And a lot of actors have reported feeling more comfortable with directors that make them do multiple takes, like David Fincher. And another thing you can do to make yourself feel more comfortable and private is you can record in your car. A lot of times when you live with roommates or nosy neighbors, you don't necessarily want them to know what you're doing. I sort of don't have that problem because I'm the only person that speaks English, so I don't feel as self-conscious when I'm making the video. However, when I do speak Chinese, I still get that self-conscious feeling. So yeah, in the beginning, I would record my videos in my car. And the car has got super nice audio. You're isolated. You're, for the most part, private. So it will work out perfect. And in the beginning, if you need a little boost, if you need a little fun and excitement, if your budget allows it, you could even get a hotel room or go to a special place or go to like a secluded area like I did a couple times ago. Like sometimes I would go out to a park, find a nice shaded area and sit down and record for the whole day and just like make the process fun and ritualistic as much as you can within your budget, of course, just to get you started. You know, in the beginning when you don't have that much of a self-generated motivation, just doing these ritualistic things will help you get started. And when you get comfortable with talking into a camera, then you can, you know, go back to your own room and just be boring like I am. Editing. There are plenty of tutorials online. As far as editing, I started out with iMovie. I still sometimes use iMovie to edit really simple footage. It's something that does like 90% of the job. Like I use Final Cut now, which is a more advanced version of iMovie, but iMovie accounts for like 80% to 90% of the function. So if you don't have the budget for Final Cut or Adobe Premiere Pro or some of the other editing apps out there, like I think Bilibili has this like own thing going on that's embedded in their website. Just play around with different apps, play around with different editing softwares and see which ones you're most comfortable with. Like I use a combination of Final Cut Pro and some editing apps on my phone sometimes. What I will say is this: instead of worrying about what editing apps, what editing softwares to use, spend most of your time figuring out how to get the most out of the ones that you're using. How to do the basic functions like cutting the footage and syncing the footage with your audio or adding captions and all that fun stuff. Take notes when you see other people's videos that inspire you. Background music and sound effects. Like I said before, the visuals are only half the equation. Sometimes the audio, in my opinion, takes up more responsibility. If you have a crappy footage, but awesome audio quality, people will still watch your video. If that's done in reverse, I highly doubt that people will sift through really loud or inconsistent sound waves, which definitely happened to me before, so don't make the same mistake I did. I go on Epidemic Sound or Music Bed to find professional and copyright-free music. Although on Bilibili, they don't really care about that, so you could be a little bit more kind of in that gray area. However, I post my videos on both platforms, so I have to go with copyright-free music. And if you want to go a little extra, I suggest looking for some funny sound effects or just sound effects to boost your footage, to complement your footage. This is something I do just for fun when I'm like feeling bored. I go on YouTube and search for funny sound effect or memes or just anything that I see other people do that will make your footage more engaging and funny and interesting. But you definitely don't have to do that. In the beginning, I just put my regular footage, including the sound, whether it's from a microphone, an external microphone, or just straight out of my camera. And then I would put like a really chill, lo-fi type of music underneath. So you could just do that in the beginning. Titles, transitions, and special effects. So now you have the basics of the footage ready. You want to add some captions. You want to add something interesting on top of your footage. I got you covered. Keep in mind though, the tips and tricks I know that I'm going to talk about are based on Final Cut Pro. Final Cut Pro has different kinds of captions that you can do. If you want to go a little bit extra, you can go on motionarray.com or just search like Final Cut Pro caption or title plugins, and you can check out this abundance of effects that will make your footage just look more professional. Although, like I said, it's still optional. You don't have to do that. This other effect that I started doing is actually inspired by many content creators on Bilibili. And I actually found this creator that made the plugin for this progress bar thing that is directly embedded into Final Cut Pro. So I don't have to do anything. I'll put the link to his video and his download link down in the description so that you can go download it. Another classic thing that I like to do to make my video more quirky and more like, you know, fun is to add iPad handwritten notes.
As you can see, I'm drawing on a black background with like a white colored pencil. At the same time, screen record. That way you can export the footage onto your computer and basically just lay this footage on top of your existing footage. And I always go to overlay or add so that black background would just fade out.
So now I'm going to talk about the post-editing part, the unglamorous part of making a video. The transcript, subtitles, thumbnails, intros and outros, and all the graphics involved. Because I speak English in my videos, I have to put subtitles in. It's not even like an optional thing. But even if it's an optional thing for you, I still highly recommend it because having captions for your videos would just encourage people to watch it. And if you post videos on Instagram, for instance, where people put their phone on mute when they watch a video, having the caption will encourage people to stay on your video longer. So I have a few apps that I recommend. If you're in China, I recommend 讯飞听说. It's an app that transcribes your videos into English and Chinese, and then it will just export directly onto Final Cut Pro so that you can still make minor tweaks instead of like having the subtitles already burned into your videos. Someone from the West, you could just use Otter AI or this app that I found called Descript. I haven't tested that one, but Otter AI just transcribes your audio or video into like a large chunk of text. Or maybe they do subtitles also. Or if you don't want an AI app doing your videos, you can also hire someone on Fiverr, or there's a website called rev.com. They don't do that much of a good job on translating your text into a different language, but just transcribing your footage into English was sufficient. That is provided that you want to spend that much more and you want to get a perfect job. I used to hire people to do that, and we used to just exchange Word documents. I find that to be a little bit more mechanical and a little bit more time consuming because I can't see what's going on in the footage when I'm like proofreading my text portion of my subtitles. So I think moving on, once I get used to using the software, I'm gonna hire people to use the software on my behalf so I can get accuracy and efficiency out of this whole thing. This other app called ArcTime Pro, the last time I checked, it doesn't transcribe your video. It will, however, help you, like it makes captioning part a lot easier if you have a large chunk of text without any timestamps. I'll put a few links to the tutorials part. You could check it out for yourself to see which one of these apps you prefer, but ArcTime Pro is like industry standard. I still can't believe that I used to put like subtitles manually, just like one at a time. Or I guess like I used to hire people to do that, and it used to be a really time-consuming thing, and I just dreaded the whole experience, even when I had to proofread the Word document. Like I, for the most part, did the least amount of work, and I still hated it. Moving on to thumbnails. Now, I used to use Photoshop or photo editing softwares on my phone to make thumbnails, but it doesn't exactly save my templates, so every time I have to start out from scratch. I found this app called, or I guess a website called 搞定设计, or the English equivalent of that would be Canva. It's available in the Chinese market, so it's canva.cn, and also the Western market, which would be canva.com. I've been liking the Chinese version a bit more because, yeah, it's more designed for the Chinese platforms and has different Chinese fonts that aren't available on canva.com. So what I like the most is that everything is on cloud and it will save your template. I could potentially just make one thumbnail and just keep using the same platform, keep using the same template over and over again. And it's not something that I can do with Photoshop, or at least I haven't found out how to do on Photoshop. Maybe Photoshop isn't on the table anymore. Moving on to intros and outros. Now, this part is completely optional. Actually, the whole segment, the post-editing segment, is optional. You could just post it as is. But let's say you want to make your channel look a bit more consistent. You can add a reel of all the stuff you want to talk about, or just your channel's name, just to reinforce who you are, just to reinforce what your channel is about. Like you could post animation, you could post just the still image itself will work. The way you would do it is to also use Canva or 搞定设计. So they have both photo templates and also video templates for you to choose from. And you can also go on Etsy or Fiverr to hire people to customize your intros, although that could be a bit excessive, or you could find someone on the internet that does this sort of thing. Or what I used to do is I would make animation from this app called Procreate on my iPad. That's probably the most excessive out of all the options. You could just play around with it and see which ones you like the most. Take a look at other YouTubers' intros and outros and try to emulate them. Moving on to the posting part of this process. This isn't an essential part of making a video, but it does make or break your content. For instance, what you put in the title, what you put in the thumbnail in terms of text will grab the attention of the audience or lose the attention. Usually people would spend a lot of time making the footage, designing the thumbnail without giving too much thought about the title itself. And this is something I learned from D'Angelo Wallace. Like, he makes these large, lengthy videos just debunking everything or commenting on a really complex matter, and his videos are usually like 30 to 40 minutes long. So that title and thumbnail is gonna make people decide on watching his lengthy video. So it's everything, and he reportedly spends an unproportionally long time just deciding what to call the video. Even when I have everything visual-wise ready, I don't immediately post a video until I take a day or two or half a day or two to decide on the final title. And this is something that people often overlook because they just want to get the video out there, which I get sometimes. Like, if you spend enough time on a video, you just want to get it out there. But, you know, we're not trying to be clickbaity, but having the right title is going to help your video even when the content itself isn't the most alluring. And point number 2 is to organize your files after posting. This is something that is good for long-term practice if you want to sustain this. And it's something that I've only started doing recently, which is to get an external hard drive, or, you know, you can upload your footage onto a cloud drive. But basically, I don't have the finished or the raw files on my computer because, one, it's gonna slow down my computer if I keep everything on the computer itself. When I edit, I keep everything functioning on the hard drive. And second of all, it just keeps everything clean and organized. And whenever I need to, let's say, repost the content on a different platform, I can find the footage, I can find the file pretty quickly. So yeah, if you want to do this long term, it's better to have a dedicated place to keep all your files. Having access to these files, having different platforms and different formats in mind is going to help you churn out more content even when you're not actively making those content. Part 4, playing the long-term game, going viral and staying viral. Tip number 1 of that would be to just start. If there's one advice I want you to take away from this video, that would be just to start. You could literally make something extremely crappy, something extremely unprepared. Even if you just like make something for yourself on your phone, that is still taking a step out of your comfort zone. Whoever said that showing up is 80% of the work is not exaggerating. Once you get that momentum going, once you get used to that habit, once you get used to that new identity, all the technical details, all the adjustments will come to you naturally because you have motivation, like you have people that you want to please. If you've never made something, if you don't have an audience, you don't have that drive to do anything better. If you feel intimidated, just ignore all the steps, ignore all the advice I said before, and literally make something this week. And if you're a perfectionist, just let that shit go for a second, okay? Great work is never finished, but abandoned. And it's something that I have to consciously force myself to do because, first of all, there is no perfect video, there's no perfect anything. And if you wait until everything is perfect, you'll never get anything done. Trust me. Procrastination sneaks up like a thief. It will steal your motivation from you. It will steal your enthusiasm away from you. You'll just get nothing done. So intentionally make something that you know is crappy and see how you feel about it. And get used to just moving on for that project and moving on for that crappy idea and jump right on to the next. Because success is a numbers game. If you wait until everything becomes perfect and then that thing doesn't work out, and then hours later, years later, you still have that one piece of work and nothing else, then how do you expect to grow? How do you expect to go viral? Consistency, putting in the numbers, putting in the hours of work, making yourself vulnerable, making yourself receptive to feedback are all foundation to growth, to viral growth. Whenever there is a video that goes viral, 9 times out of 10, there's been like a stream of consistent output that propelled that person, that propelled that content to the audience. But if you've never had this foundation, even if you went viral, even if, let's say, your first or second video went viral, you can't sustain that popularity. It's like winning a lottery. 9 times out of 10, people go bankrupt. It's like a disaster when you haven't had that practice and you've gone viral. So it's important to maintain that humility, maintain that obscurity to get all the practice in, and then once the timing, opportunity, and luck and preparation come together, you will go viral for sure. And this time around, you will sustain that virality? No. You'll sustain that popularity. Let's just go with another word. I can't English today. In the meantime, don't get desperate, don't get entitled, and don't worry too much about what other people think of you. If your one video got sort of popular and then the second video doesn't do as well, just keep going. This is a marathon, not a sprint. In the beginning, when your videos have like relatively no views, don't stress too much about it. Nobody is rejecting you, okay? And in fact, obscurity in the beginning will help you find your identity, will help you really hone in on your skills. Don't look at metrics prematurely, especially when one video does well and another video doesn't do well. You're ignoring all these videos that you could be making, that you could be spending time on. Sometimes I fall into that mentality as well, so I may be a hypocrite. All that worrying and anxiety just takes up a lot of time, and it's completely unnecessary, it's completely unproductive. Just move on to the next project. And besides, your audience doesn't owe you a thing. Who says that if your one video got 30 million views, your next video should get the same amount of views? It's not something that you can control. What you do have in your skill set is to make another piece of content, is to put out consistent work and just keep going. That's all you have. So there you guys go. I hope that wasn't too much of a ramble and you were able to find something valuable from it. The truth is, going viral is relatively the easy part. Staying viral or staying relevant over a long period of time is the hard part, and it's something I take pride in for being able to do. I've been doing this for almost 3-4 years now, and yeah, people are still watching me, and every day I'm learning something new. This is, I guess, like my final advice or my final takeaway, which is to just enjoy the ride. Just, do it for the sake of doing it. Don't depend on the result. Do your duty. Like, I have it right here, like my tattoo says, do your duty and be detached from the result. You should make the process fun, even if it doesn't go anywhere. It's never too late. You're not too old. You're not too ugly. Actually, like, you don't have to look a certain way. You don't even have to show yourself on camera or anything like that. Literally, sky is the limit. And yeah, that should be the spirit. Even though it's a lot of work, it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of dedication, it shouldn't feel torturous. You can start anywhere. You can start today. I hope to see you again when you've made something. Just every now and then drop in and say hi and tell us how you're getting on. So with that is the outro to this video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.